In the first episode of The Inside Story by BBG, we explore the journey of Saul and Paul Berman, how two brothers built a business from the ground up through trust, resilience, and long-term thinking. In this episode, we shift the focus, because building a successful business is one thing, but the question many founders eventually face is, what do you do with that success? Today's conversation is with Saul Berman, and it's about the work being done through the Hands-On Foundation. We unpack why the foundation was started, the partnership with Leap Schools, and the program now supporting over 100 students in Langa and Crossroads. We'll also talk about the bigger issue this initiative is addressing, the growing skills gap in South Africa, and why creating real pathways into industries like constructions matter more for the future of the country. This is The Inside Story. So what motivated you to start the Hands-On Foundation?
What motivated me was me having a learning disability, being dyslexic, ADHD, whatever you call it, whatever you can have as a kid. I had having to leave school early, been told I'm a failure, I'll never make it in the outside world. And I cannot tell you as of today what drove me, I think, being told at school that you're a failure, and then leaving because you didn't fit in. Why didn't I go the wrong way? What made me choose the right path? I think what made me choose the right path was my religion. I had a place of worship. I had a place that accepted me. I was in the synagogue choir for 19 years. I had a place of belonging, actually. So, and then by leaving school and going to technical college and being thrown out 3 times and begging and crying to be kept. And I promised the principal, I promise you, because I never did maths and science at school, which goes me to my previous discussion about subject choice. But I wasn't good enough to do maths and science at school, because maths and science at school was only on the academic side, only the higher grade. There wasn't like there is today maths, lit, and all these other different layers. So I promised to take extra lessons. I took extra lessons. So I know what it's like where you on this jumping board, and you're either going to jump and leap into the future, or you're going to fall. And I just studied my heart off. I can't study. I can't learn. I can hardly read. But I'm very good at figures. So dyslexic people are gifted. They can see things in 3D. They are either good, as you know, with numbers or angles or things like that. And after my N1, I got a distinction in maths and science. I got over 80%. And I'll never forget, I did my N1, 2, and 3, and 4, which is, as you know, your N3 is your matric and your N4 is like university. And I had this Afrikaans teacher, short Afrikaans guy, who we used to banter. And he was the one that actually drove me. But drove me from a perspective that he said, I won't make it. But when he gave me my results, you could see that look in his eye, that he was just so proud. And when I went to go shake his hand, his name was John Esterhazen. I said, Mr. Esterhazen, you're going to work for me one day. He says to me, oh, fuck off, you. And anyway, I qualified, opened my business. And about 3 years later, John Esterhazen was employed to come run my electrical division. Whoa. So I was just going to tell you just a story about that. So he was with me, can't remember, for about a year, and he came to me and said, look, I've got a contract with you. I love being here. He says, but I've been offered a job at the city council, which I wanted my whole life. Will you let me go? I said, John, I don't want anybody to work with me that doesn't want to be here. You have my blessing. Anyway, he went, and about 20 years later, we built in the Checker Center in Sea Point, and we undermining the building, and the whole electrical room, CTPT metering, just explodes. It was a Friday afternoon, and it took out blocks of electricity in an area which is an area where people celebrate Sabbath, Jewish people, and to have no electricity on a Friday afternoon where you're cooking for the Sabbath, you're not the most popular person. Anyway, they were digging up the roads, and the electricity department was there. And I said to the one guy, who's in charge of the city council? He says, oh, the big boss is just John Estraden. I said, that's short Afrikaans. That's short Afrikaner. Give me his number. So anyway, so they gave me his number, and I phoned him up, and I said, Estraden. He says, who is this? I said, this is your boss. Anyway, within a half an hour, we had generators. The road was lit up. We turned the electricity back on temporary. And then he retired. And then I actually got him to lecture at a technical school. But unfortunately, he was retired. He was too old. He was ill. So if you think about where I started with him to where we climbed together, to where we went to, it was a full circle. So part of my dream to start the Hands-On Foundation came from being alienated, came from being labeled, having to go to a special school because I had special needs, into an area which, as you hear your grandparents and parents say, I took a bus and a train and walked so many kilometers. That's what I did every day to Maitland Technical College. And I vowed one day to bring the technical education into the school curriculum. And 30 years later, I got connected with Jan de Waal, who was the principal of Wynberg Boys. And we changed the school curriculum. We brought technical education into Wynberg Boys.
How much of that, I hear a lot of optimism in a lot of things, saying how much of the you not being seen for your value and then finally being able to be in a position where someone who didn't see your value, you're able to work with and give an opportunity, how much of that underlies why you're able to do so much of this outreach and giving back work?
It's very interesting because my philosophy is that we are all born with a name. And from a very young age, we want to be recognized by our family, by our siblings, by our friends. Anything you do, sports, playing, at school, academics, whatever you do, it's all about recognition. We do things for recognition. And as you know, we only got one name. And I believe that you come into this world with nothing. You leave with nothing. Wherever you are, wherever you believe in, it's what difference you're going to leave here. What difference you actually going to make. So for me, it's and growing through a path where a lot of my time I was doing things for recognition because I never got recognized. Never had a father to tell me, well done, I'm proud of you, boy, or to be at school or to have a Father's Day. So I think a lot, and there's not one day that goes past that I don't wish I had a father or miss my father. So I know what it's like to feel unwanted. I know what it's like not to feel loved from not having a father. So what's very important is, and I think the success of where I am today is a personal journey. It's what can I do that someone doesn't have to go through the same pain that I went through? Or what can I've made many mistakes in my life. Many. In fact, there's not one day that goes past that I don't apologize twice. I thank everybody, whoever works with me. And in fact, it was interesting that my success today is more about giving people recognition. Because by walking onto a building site and greeting someone by their name and asking them how they is or how their sick child is or the wife or anything like that, giving someone recognition, I promise you'll get so much more production out of them per day by being recognized. Because all I wanted to be was recognized. And I know what it did to me and meant to me when someone recognized me. I would go to the ends of the earth. So the success is actually recognizing people, uplifting people, giving people hope, as I always say. So I have the ability, as my brother will always tell you, my cup is always overflowing. My cup is never half empty. There's always someone that has it worse off than us, or there's always someone that's had a worse life than anybody else. And you can't carry your past into the future. It's very important. I'm a very positive person. I love people. I don't cry over anything that can't cry over me. My car gets scratched or something gets damaged or something gets stolen. Yes, I'll be upset, but I invest in people. People are irreplaceable. So it was interesting because I once had an interview and the lady said to me, "How do you want your children to remember you?" I said, "I want my children to find out what their dad really does." So she says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, what I give back and charity, no one knows what I really do." She says, "Why wait?" That was amazing. And I said, "You're right. Why not tell my children while I'm alive? Why must they find out afterwards?" So yes, it's been amazing because, as I've said, the true meaning of giving is not knowing where it comes from. And the true meaning of giving is when you know someone needs and you give, not when you asked. So I'm blessed. Whatever you do good comes back to you tenfold. I sometimes pinch myself and say, do I have enough time left to do what I have to do? Do I have enough time left to enjoy? I enjoy every moment, a lunch, a meal, a coffee, a discussion, a cast in a slab. Everything for me is created into a celebration, both physically, mentally, spiritually, and practically. And
With that optimism, it's great that you have it and obviously what you've been able to do. Where do you see government's shortfall in education? Because the way that you've sort of revolutionized the way that you're getting kids through the system, if you hadn't have the perseverance that you had back there, there's definitely tons of other kids that had the same journey you had that couldn't get to where you are, right? So I'm assuming that a lot of what you've built now with the hands-on foundation is trying to close that gap. So where do you see government's shortfall and where you're filling the gap, if there is one?
I think the biggest shortfall in government is accountability. Decisions can be made with no accountability. If a kid starts school this year or doesn't start school, there's no care. There's no worry. There's no concern, really. You had so many thousands of children waiting for a position at school. Why aren't any more schools built? The Western Cape has grown by 1.5 million people. Name me schools that have been built. You tell me that there's a shortage of teachers. but teachers are being retrenched. So the whole system needs to change. Needs to be complete shake-up. And that's why we've gone the private route. If you look at what we're doing, we can't do schools with government. Yeah, you have public partnership with government that only wants to do good, and all government puts into place is the red tape of how you can't do it. So we're going to do this. We're going to roll out our technical faculties countrywide in the private sector. I'll work with government tomorrow, but government must come and say, we need you, come help us. Because only we in the private sector can change this. You can't change the wheels of government. And what we've done just in 2 schools, over 100 children in grade 10 and 11 this year, and to have in the next 2-3 years, you're going to have 200 to 300 kids coming out of 2 schools. And you can, in the next 5 years, so LEAP at the moment has got 7 schools. We grow into 9. We want to grow that to 20 to 30 schools countrywide. And not only to grow the school, but to grow the economy, where you now are teaching children, giving them trades and giving them qualifications to stay in the country and to rebuild the country.
Where do you think the lack of will from government comes, or why is there a lack of will of government to help where you have tried to?
Politics, elections, no responsibility, no accountability, no rush. There's no need. Government must be run like a business. If the person's not fit for the purpose to do the job, replace. You have to have, must be run as business. Can't be run like it's run. Especially the education department. Education department should be out there with the private sector of how we can make change. Help us make a difference. Let's do this together. So you've got technical schools in the Western Cape that are failing, that government doesn't know what to do with. But all you do is take those technical schools and put academia into those technical schools and make it a proper school. Like I'm trying to put technical into normal schools, change the technical schools, change the training, bring business in, bring suppliers in, bring contractors in, feed the industry, give incentives to business to employ people, to take on apprenticeships, to give bursaries. So
You gotten around in all the red tape and all these challenges.
I've gone the private route. I've gone to an NGO like the LEAP Institute and the LEAP School. And I said, the only way to cut the red tape is to do this together and bring business in, bring other foundations in, and to grow the LEAP brand. And by going to see the Minister of Education, he agreed with me 100%. That's the best route to go. Now, if he's advising you that's the best route to go because there's too much red tape in his department, I've answered the question.
There was talk of the amount of girls that are involved in that. Was that a specific focus? Did it just happen that way? Do you have is there thinking behind why that happened?
Not really, but when I was in Maitland Technical College, and I'm trying to think when, in the, no, not even 90s, in the 80s, in the late 80s, a lot of the trades, what do you call it, tradesmen, were ladies who were doing motor mechanic or plumbing and drainage, electrical, were ladies. And you looked at this and say, wow, you've never seen a woman mechanic before. But that started 30-something years ago. throughout my career, my entire management team is ladies. My entire project management team is ladies. And it's been very interesting because why must it be a male-dominated sector? Why must tradesmen be men? And yes, the men better wake up, because I can tell you one thing, some of the women are more committed and more hungry and want to succeed more than the men. And sometimes they are neater, they are more reliable, and they want to achieve more. So for me, it's equal society, the best person for the job. And it's amazing to see.
So what's the future then for the Hands-On Foundation? Where do you expect to see growth? Are there other education avenues you're looking at? What can we expect to see?
We would like to build the biggest education foundation in South Africa. We'd like to build a foundation where no child is turned away under any circumstances. We want to change the complete school curriculum, where schools have got the academia, the technical engineering, and the skills to all schools. We want to energize the economy, which is vital. And we want to make sure that every child is given hope, and that every child does not drop out of school under any circumstances, and that every child that comes through our facility is employed after school. And if we can link the education system to business, it can be an auto-feeding system. And like you had many years ago, when you had the top legal firms and accounting firms going to university and choosing the top students, you're going to have the industry come into the schools and wanting those kids to come and work for them, or give them bursaries, or give them the training. And it's amazing, because if I look at just the companies that we work with today, and I go and ask, if you're wanting to employ an electrician or a plumber or a plasterer or a bricklayer or whatever tradesman, where do you go? It's normally a family friend brings someone in, or X, Y, and Z. It's got no training. You've got a school where a kid's got the practical and the theory knowledge. So I'll give you an incredible example. The grade 10s from last year get taken to our sites at least twice a term. So last year they saw a building being demolished. They saw a site being excavated and lateral support. They saw a structure going up. They saw a building being built, and they saw a finished building. And from last year to this year, their curriculum and building plans is not a book. It's our live site, the Monreef site, which they are learning the structure and the plans of how it gets built. They're part of the journey. There's a camera that records the site that they're able to see on a daily basis, the progress. They come to site, and the grade 11s this year will finish their first building with me, built at school. So just think of the knowledge that they have from a practical and a theory that they could never do. You can't even do that outside of school. Because you go outside of school, there's nowhere that you can go and learn the theory and the practical at the same time. And if we can take the model, what we're trying to create, with a mentorship program, entrepreneurship program, and all those facets to the Hands-On Foundation, and we can take that prototype into each town, city, rural area, everywhere, and take that model. Wow, what we can do to this country. What we can do to employment. What we can do to the economy.
So I want you to go in more on the economy part, because obviously we know that the education is linked to the economy, but there was something else you had mentioned previously where you're saying it's hard to find quality artisans and all that stuff, obviously that means the quality of the people we're producing is not good enough, and that can have an adverse effect on the economy, right? Do you see a link between that? And do you see the model of the school as being the solution then of uplifting the economy and the standards in general to have a general, uplifting of the country?
I think the government has failed in terms of there's no more apprenticeships. There's no more incentive to business to employ apprenticeships. There's hardly trade schools. There's hardly technical schools, which are schools that are recognized, both locally and internationally. And don't think I haven't thought about opening up the BBG Academy, where you come through the academy and you get taught the right way, not just in technical and engineering, in skills, in cooking, in every part of skills where you're taught the right way. Because our kids are all good at something, and it's the school's job to find what each kid is good at. Unfortunately, it doesn't, because you go into this pen and it's all about getting out at the end, and it's not about did you matriculate, how many exemptions did we get. They don't mention people who don't pass or don't fail. It's what your matric percentage rate is, or 97% of the kids matriculated. Because the kids that don't do well are pushed out. But I can tell you one thing. The best thing that's ever happened for me is AI. AI now is differentiating between the academic or the AI and the practical technical. AI can't build my house. AI can't fix my geyser. AI can't wire my plugs. AI can't tile my floor. So the new millionaires of the world today are going to be tradesmen. And the more the world grows, and the more you've got unskilled people, the more those skilled people are going to be in demand. And I can categorically guarantee you, if you want to get into any country in the world today, you've got a trade union. It's an international passport. Not that we are educating our kids to leave. We're educating our kids to stay. But a trade or a qualification in engineering or architecture, or any form of engineering, both electrical, mechanical, civils, we don't have enough. And if you look at the surge in the country at the moment in the Western Cape, look what's happening. We haven't got the artisans. You look at the quality of what is out there. Some of the projects is quite embarrassing.
So your part then would be then your legacy being able to leave the country better and people better, right? That the vision.
Legacy is for our children, both Paul's and myself, to continue. My son always says to me, Dad, I can't wait to walk into your footsteps one day. I said, my boy, I don't mind you walking in my footsteps for a short while, but one day I cannot wait to walk in your shadow. I want the kids to take the foundation and the work of what we're doing and to propel it into another sphere, to change the whole education space in South Africa.
Okay. If anyone wanted to find out more or help or be involved in the foundation, how can they help out or get in touch?
They can go onto the website. We have a website. They can email us, and they can WhatsApp me. They can call me. And yes, we'd love to talk to people, show them. Anybody can help in any form, both from giving time, giving money, giving materials, But there's very few organizations that can change the landscape of South Africa by money. And not only giving money is what my brother and myself do is we've taken care of the running costs of the foundation. So if you give in 1,000 Rand or 1,000,000 Rand, that money is going to the source. And we buy everything. So you're really getting value for your money. And we make sure that that school in the rural area, or that we have to go under security guard into Crossroads to build a school, we make sure that the money goes to the source. We look after bursaries, the equipment, machinery, the run-in, and obviously the build costs. And also make sure that the school is performing and that the kids are getting the right education in our facility.
So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was episode 2 of The Inside Story by BBG. In our next episode, we turn to the business of property itself. We sit down with Paul Berman to unpack the strategy behind selling developments, from buyer psychology and off-plan trust to how regulation and market shifts are shaping Cape Town's property landscape. If you've ever wondered how major developments are actually sold before they're even built, you won't want to miss that conversation. We'll see you in episode 3.